Good evening. Welcome to WEBN General News. I'm Isabella Osgood.
And I'm Anthony Ciano. Thanks for joining us.
U.S. stocks are down today after President Donald Trump proposed tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China.
No room left for Mexico or for Canada. No, the tariffs, they're all set. They go into effect tomorrow.
The tariffs go into effect at midnight. The Dow has dropped a little under 1.5%. The S&P 500 fell over 1.5%, and the Nasdaq fell 2.6%. President Trump claims the tariffs will urge manufacturers to produce more in the United States.
Health and Human Service Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. announced yesterday that he supports the measles vaccine.
They're only preventable if we have adequate vaccination rate.
The statement comes amidst a rapidly spreading outbreak in the Southwest. The first fatally occurred last month when an unvaccinated Texas infant contracted the measles. Kennedy, who previously made unverified claims about the dangers of vaccines, has since changed his messaging. Now, in an effort to control the spread, federal health agencies are set to provide support to state health authorities.
Boston police identified the man who was shot and killed by an off-duty officer at the Copley Square Chick-fil-A on Saturday.
We just heard the noise, heard someone say gunshot. That was enough for us to just turn tail and run a couple blocks away.
According to witnesses, 32-year-old Elmar Jaramillo chased two people into the Back Bay restaurant with a knife, threatening to stab them. It was then that an off-duty officer identified himself. When Jaramillo did not drop his weapon, the officer shot him. Jaramillo was taken to a nearby hospital where he was pronounced dead. No other injuries were reported.
Border czar Tom Homan announced over the weekend that he's heading to Boston. CNN stage in Washington, D.C., Homan claimed Boston officials aren't doing enough to aid in federal mass deportation efforts. Police Commissioner Michael Cox countered the accusations. He said that due to local and state laws, the Boston Police Department will not work with ICE. Mayor Michelle Wu travels to D.C. Wednesday to testify before Congress about Boston's status as a sanctuary city.
A judge denied the Associated Press access to the White House press pool Monday.
The only privilege that has been revoked is that privilege of going into the Oval Office, being part of that core 13 press pool members. And not every outlet has the ability to go in there every single day like the Associated Press has for decades. It's a privilege. We're opening up that privilege to other outlets who deserve a seat at that table.
The AP's ban follows a disagreement over the Gulf of Mexico, which has been renamed the Gulf of America. Judge Trevor McFadden denied the AP's temporary restraining order request due to a lack of proof of irreparable harm. However, McFadden later stated he would consider a preliminary injunction and encouraged the Trump administration to reconsider their press pool.
Today has been pretty chilly compared to the last few days.
That's right, but we are expected to see a rise in temperatures. With more information on the week's forecast, we have our correspondent, Daniel Lipof. Daniel, what do you have for us?
Thank you, guys. Today was a cold one. Boston saw a high of 31 and a low of 12. So this is a bit unnatural for this time of year, and these temperatures are pretty similar to what we felt in December or January, but I've got some good news. You can say goodbye to the freezing temps, as this week the weather will start to feel like spring. Heading into tomorrow, we've got a high of 46. Wow. And a low of 22. Heading into Wednesday and Thursday, a storm system will be moving in from the south, bringing in lots and lots of rain. But on the bright or overcast side, it'll bring the temperatures up to almost 60 degrees, which we haven't seen that yet this whole year. Bostonians should expect around a half an inch of rain in a 24-hour period. And as we head into Friday, it'll cool down with a high of 39 and a low of 25. That's all for the weekly forecast. Back to y'all at the desk.
Thank you so much, Daniel. After this break, we'll have more information on the egg imports,
as well as an update between the Israel-Hamas ceasefire deal. Welcome back to General News.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture announced they will be investing $1 billion to stop the rapidly spreading bird flu. The investment will hopefully bring the price of eggs back down to pre-outbreak prices. Egg prices reached an all-time high within the last month, nearing $5 per dozen. Since 2022, more than 166 million birds have died from the bird flu, and around 70 people have fallen ill.
Hamas returned the bodies of 4 hostages Thursday in exchange for hundreds of Palestinian prisoners from Israel. The bodies were given to the Red Cross, and Israeli officials say Egyptian mediators aided in the hostages' return. However, the return of over 600 Palestinian hostages was postponed Saturday due to cruel treatment during hostage exchange, according to Israel. Hamas argues that the second phase of ceasefire cannot happen without the release of these Palestinians.
We go now to our politics correspondent, Vivienne Felber. Vivienne?
Thank you so much, Anthony. The Boston mayoral race is heating up with Josh Kraft and Mayor Michelle Wu going head-to-head. A recent Emerson College poll shows Wu with 43% of voter support. Kraft, meanwhile, has 29%, with nearly a quarter of voters still undecided. Despite the early lead, analysts see the race as still in flux, especially with Wu set to testify before the U.S. House Oversight Committee Wednesday about the city's sanctuary status. Both candidates acknowledge the importance of this moment, with Kraft expressing confidence in Wu's ability to represent Boston well. The Trump administration's federal government reforms have sparked backlash from federal workers. The administration's focus on reducing staff, particularly in diversity roles, has led to frustration and fear. Some employees are protesting, suing, and leaking internal documents in response to layoffs. While some Republicans back the cuts, concerns about Elon Musk's role in the Department of Government Efficiency continue to drive resistance through advocacy and legal action. Judge Carl Nicholas approved the Trump administration's plan to remove most USAID staff with a 30-day deadline for abroad workers to return. The federal judge ruled the case should be addressed under federal employment laws and was reassured by the administration's promises of emergency communication access. The decision is part of the broader effort supported by Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency to reduce USAID operations, raising concerns about job losses and risk for staff overseas. That's all I have for politics. Back to you at the desk.
The Vatican announced Sunday that Pope Francis remains in a stable condition, according to a statement. The Pope no longer requires supplemental oxygen treatment, a potential sign that his respiratory functions are improving. After suffering from double pneumonia as well as respiratory crisis, Pope Francis was hospitalized on February 14th. Although the Pope is still in a Rome hospital, he reportedly remains hopeful and continues to thank the public for their well wishes and thank his prayers and doctors.
WEBN international correspondent Addison Brewer-hay has the latest news from around the world. Addison?
Thank you, Isabella. President Donald Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance criticized Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at an Oval Office meeting Friday. The conversation was broadcast globally as President Trump and Vice President Vance accused Zelensky of being unappreciative of the United States' support in Ukraine's war against Russia. Zelensky challenged Vance's call for diplomacy with Russian President Putin, arguing that he has violated past ceasefires. President Trump continued to urge a ceasefire agreement and emphasized that with no cooperation, the U.S. may draw back support from Ukraine. The debate ended with the cancellation of President Zelensky's visit. Israel has stopped all humanitarian aid and goods into Gaza after Hamas rejected a proposal to extend Phase 1 of the ceasefire. This followed a U.S. announcement that they would supply $4 billion in military aid to Israel. Israel proposed extending the first phase of the ceasefire through Ramadan and Passover, releasing half of the hostages immediately and the rest upon the permanent ceasefire deal. Hamas rejected this and urged to move on to the next phase, which includes Israel troop withdrawal. President Trump's decision to freeze international aid for 90 days and shut down USAID has impacted health security internationally. USAID, which provided $44 billion in aid last year, has been forced to scale back or shut down assistance in 160 countries. Programs impacted include vaccine opportunities, biosecurity efforts, and HIV treatments through PEPFAR. Despite waivers for emergency aid, funding remains frozen. That's all I have for international news. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks so much, Addison. After this break, we'll have some updates in sports.
as well as a look on some winners from last night's Oscars.
We just heard the noise, heard someone say gunshot. That was enough for us to just turn tail and run a couple blocks away.
Welcome back to General News. Actress Michelle Trachtenberg, known for her roles in Gossip Girl and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, has died at age 39. Trachtenberg was found by her mother in her New York City apartment Wednesday morning. According to ABC, the actress may have experienced complications after recently receiving a liver transplant. No foul play is suspected, as Trachtenberg is believed to have died of natural causes. And now, with more information on entertainment news, we have Emile.
Thanks, guys. The 97th Academy Awards took place Sunday night in Los Angeles. Conan O'Brien hosted the celebration, welcoming featured performances from Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, Doja Cat, and Queen Latifah. The biggest winner of the night was Anora, an indie film that took home Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actress, Best Screenplay, and Best Editing. Other big winners included Emilia Perez, Dune Part 2, and Wicked. Grammy-nominated singer Angie Stone tragically passed away at the age of 63 due to a car crash on March 1st. Known for her hit solo tracks Wish I Didn't Miss You, and as a co-founder of the pioneering hip-hop group The Sequence, Stone was also a songwriter. She collaborated with artists like D'Angelo, Alicia Keys, and Lenny Kravitz. Stone appeared on reality shows and in films, and released 10 solo albums and earned multiple Grammy nominations throughout her career. Legendary actor Gene Hackman and his wife, pianist Betsy Arakawa, were found dead at their New Mexico home on Wednesday. A pacemaker showed that Hackman's last recorded event was on February 17th, more than a week before his body was found. No foul play is suspected, but authorities are not ruling it out as a negative carbon monoxide test was conducted. Hackman was discovered in a mudroom near his cane, and Arakawa was found in the bathroom with their dogs dead nearby. Authorities are still trying to figure out the timeline and cause of these deaths. That's all I have for entertainment. Back to you at the desk.
And with more information on sports, we have our sports correspondent, Olivia Quiles. Olivia?
Thank you so much, Anthony. Steph Curry says he's retired from dunking after a slam versus the 76ers. For the first time in 6 years, Golden State Warriors champion Steph Curry threw down a one-handed slam dunk on Saturday. Curry noted that after the game, he never dunked at the new home, the Chase Center, saying later how he never will. Despite losing to Philadelphia, Curry's breakaway dunk cut the 76ers lead to 109-104 midway through the fourth quarter. The 76ers are making some changes to their roster. Due to ongoing knee injuries, the team is shutting down former NBA MVP Joel Embiid for the rest of the season. The team did not provide details on a timeline for Embiid's return to play. However, he will be in rehabilitation and treatment for the time being. San Antonio Spurs head coach Greg Popovich is not returning to the court this season. Popovich said Thursday that he plans to continue to recuperate from a stroke he suffered in November. The announcement came shortly after Spurs players and staff reunited with their beloved head coach for the first time since his stroke. The NBA's all-time coach credited his assistant coach and others for managing the team since the incident in early November at Frost Bank Center. That's it for sports. Back to you at the desk.
The MBTA and Governor Maura Healey announced free weekend trips for the opening of the new South Coast commuter rail. This new rail will be opening on March 24th with the goal of reaching the southern coastal areas of Massachusetts. Service and parking will be free of charge for this new rail between the opening to the end of April.
That's all we have for today's news. Thank you so much for watching.
If you want to see more of our content, head to our YouTube channel at WEBN.